Hi everyone, and thanks for joining. Today I'm going to walk you through this Wazuh room available on TryHackMe. Wazuh is a free, open source and enterprise-ready security monitoring solution for threat detection and integrity monitoring. I pronounced it Wazuh as heard on their YouTube channel. So let's get started. I'll read through each of these tasks, then proceed to do the task hands-on. First task, introduction. Welcome to our room showcasing the capabilities of the Wazuh EDR software solution. In this room, you can expect to learn the following. What is an EDR and why they are useful solutions? Where an EDR like Wazuh is used, accessing Wazuh, navigating Wazuh, learning about Wazuh rules and alerts, digesting logs to view specific events on devices including Linux and Windows, and how you can extend Wazuh using plugins and its API. Firstly, let's understand what EDR solutions are exactly. Endpoint detection and response EDR are a series of tools and applications that monitor devices for an activity that could indicate a threat or security breach. These tools and applications have features that include auditing a device for common vulnerabilities, proactively monitoring a device for suspicious activity such as unauthorized logins, brute force attacks, or privilege escalations. Visualizing complex data and events into neat and trendy graphs, and recording a device's normal operating behavior to help with detecting anomalies. Created in 2015, Wazuh is an open source, freely available and extensive EDR solution. And here is a sample page from their docs covering regulatory compliance. It can be used in all scales of environments. Wazuh operates on a management and agent module. Simply, a device is dedicated to running Wazuh named a manager, where Wazuh operates on a management and agent model, where the manager is responsible for managing agents installed on the devices you'd like to monitor. Let's look at this model in the diagram below. We can see logs from 3 agents being sent to the Wazuh server. Questions in this task are: when was Wazuh released? What is the term that Wazuh calls a device that is being monitored for suspicious activity and potential security threats? And lastly, what is the term for a device that is responsible for managing these devices? Answers to these questions we can find in the instruction above. So let's proceed to task 2, required deploy Wazuh server. Connect to the TryHackMe network and deploy the Wazuh management server attached to this task and wait a minimum of 5 minutes before visiting the Wazuh server. So let's start the machine now. And let's start also our attack box, from where we will connect to this target IP. If you load the Wazuh management server too early, it will say Kibana server is not ready yet. Please wait a few more minutes before refreshing the page and trying again. Once it has started, log in using the following credentials: username and password. Select global tenant after successfully logging in. Refer to the animated GIF below of the process if you're stuck. Note, the questions within the tasks of this room will expect the data stored on this Wazuh management server, so it is vital that you are able to connect to this server before continuing. The Wazuh management server in this room will show the agents as being disconnected, that is expected. Answer the questions below, log in to the Wazuh management server on this IP before proceeding with this room's tasks. We'll just continue reading for now. Task 3, Wazuh Agents. Devices that record the events and processes of a system are called agents. Agents monitor the processes and events that take place on the device, such as authentication and user management. Agent will offload these logs to a designated collector for processing, such as Wazuh. In order for Wazuh to be populated, agents need to be installed onto devices to log such events. Wazuh can guide you through the agent deployment process, provided you will fill out some prerequisites such as operating system, the address of the Wazuh server that the agent should send logs to. This can be a DNS entry or an IP address, and what group the agent will be under. You can sort agents into groups within Wazuh if you wish. This wizard can be launched by navigating to the following location on the Wazuh server. Wazuh Agents deploy new agent as illustrated in the screenshot below. Once you navigate to this display, the intuitive wizard will be available to you. I have shared screenshots of using the wizard to install Wazuh Agent on both Windows and Debian Ubuntu. At stage 4, you are given a command to copy and paste to your clipboard, which will install and configure the agent on the device that you wish to collect logs from. Installing the Wazuh agent on Windows. Installing the Wazuh agent on Debian Ubuntu. And questions for this task are: first, ensure that you are logged into the Wazuh management server on this IP address. Navigate to the Agents tab by pressing Wazuh Agents. How many agents does this Wazuh management server manage? And what are the statuses of the agents managed by this Wazuh management server? So let's proceed to do this hands-on. Let's go to agents. And we see here we have 2 agents available, both with status disconnected. And with that, we wrapped up with this task. Let's proceed to task 4, Wazuh vulnerability assessment and security events. Wazuh's vulnerability assessment module is a powerful tool that can be used to periodically scan an agent's operating system for installed applications and their version numbers. Once this information has been gathered, it is sent back to the Wazuh server and compared against a database of CVEs to discover potential vulnerabilities. For example, the agent in the screenshot below has a version of Vim that is vulnerable to CVE 2019-1273-5. The vulnerability scanner module will perform a full scan when the Wazuh agent is first installed on a device and must be configured to run at a set interval. Then after, by default, this is set to 5-minute intervals when enabled, like so. Configuring the Wazuh management server to audit agents for vulnerabilities frequently. var OSSEC etc OSSEC conf. Wazuh is capable of testing an agent's configuration against certain rule sets to check for compliance. However, out of the box, it is arguably sensitive. Take, for example, this Linux host running the Wazuh agent. There have been a total of 769 events occurring that the system performs as part of its daily maintenance. These frequent actions, such as removing files, are often detected as a security event. These events and the related severities are determined by Wazuh's rule sets, which is something that we will come on to explore adjusting in another task. We can analyze these events individually by selecting the Events dropdown. You can sort events based upon various factors such as timestamp, tactics, or description. And questions from these tasks are: first, ensure that you are logged into the Wazuh management server. Then navigate to the Agents tab by pressing Wazuh Agents, like so. Select the agent named Agent 001. The question here is how many security event alerts have been generated by the Agent 001. Note you will need to make sure that your time range includes the 11th of March 2020. So let's proceed to check that hands-on for Agent 001. Let's click on it. And let's switch to Security Events tab. Then let's adjust our time picker. So let's include 2020 seconds. So let's approximately choose 4 years ago, since 4 years ago, and update. And here is the answer. So with that, let's proceed to task 5, Wazuh policy auditing. Wazuh is capable of auditing and monitoring an agent's configuration whilst proactively recording event logs. When the Wazuh agent is installed, an audit is performed where a metric is given using multiple frameworks and legislations such as NIST, MITRE, and GDPR. For example, see how this agent DC01 scores against MITRE, NIST, and SCA. These frameworks are outlined in the Pen Testing Fundamentals room if you wish to learn more about them. Wazuh presents a broad illustration of the logs. We can use the visualizations to break down this data and explore it further. Let's do this with the same agent. For example, see the benchmark for this domain controller running on a Windows server. Questions for this task are: first, ensure that you are logged into the Wazuh management server at 10.10.24.146. We are. And navigate to the Modules tab by pressing Wazuh Modules and open the Policy Monitoring module, like so. Okay, let's leave it at that at the moment. And let's proceed to the task 6, monitoring logons with Wazuh. Wazuh's security event monitor is capable to actively record both successful and unsuccessful authentication attempts. The rule with an ID of 5710 detects attempted connections that are unsuccessful for the SSH protocol. Let's look at the animated picture below as an example. So here we see location, var log auth log, and associated rule group is syslog. Related to this, you can check out one of my previous videos that goes over 2 Splunk rooms. The alert was created because someone tried to log onto the agent IP 10.10.73.118 with the user cmnatic, which does not exist. I have summarized this alert into the table below. Field value description, agent IP 10.10.73.118. This is IP address of the agent that the alert was triggered on. Agent name, IP 10.10.73.118. This is the host name of the agent that the alert was triggered on. Role description, SSHD, attempt to log in using a non-existent user. This field is a brief description of what the event is alerting to. Rule MITRE technique, brute force. This field explains the MITRE technique that the alert pertains to. Rule MITRE ID, T1110. This field is the MITRE ID of the alert. Rule ID 5710. This field is the ID assigned to the alert by Wazuh ruleset. And location, var log auth log. This field is the location of the file that the alert was generated from on the agent. In this example, it is the authentication log on the Linux agent. For reference, this alert is stored in a specific file on the Wazuh management server, var ossec logs alerts log. We can use a command such as grep or nano to search through this file on the management server manually. So this is the command we would run from Wazuh management server terminal. Looking at the animated GIF below, we can see how Wazuh has created an alert for successful login to a Windows server running the Wazuh agent. Because this attempt was successful, the severity of the alert is considered less than that of an unsuccessful login. This can of course be tailored to your environment. For example, if a user infrequently used is logged on, you can configure Wazuh to list this alert with higher severity. The animated GIF below shows the number of Windows agents event alerts triggered to show how many times a user has logged on. In this case, it narrows down the total logon events of 285 to 79. And hands-on actions for this task are to ensure that we are logged into the Wazuh management server and to navigate to the management tab by pressing Wazuh management and open the rules module like so. So let's click on one, for example. And let's proceed to the next task. Task 7, collecting Windows logs with Wazuh. So for this room, I'm relying on Ubuntu attack box. And if you have access to test Windows instance, you can proceed to do this task hands-on. I'll just sift reading through this task and proceed to the next task. Relevant to Linux and our attack box. All sorts of actions and events are captured and recorded on a Windows operating system. This includes authentication attempts, networking connections, files that were accessed, and the behaviors of applications and services. This information is stored in the Windows event log using a tool called Sysmon. We can use the Wazuh agent to aggregate these events recorded by Sysmon for processing to the Wazuh manager. Now we will need to configure both the Wazuh agent and the Sysmon application. Sysmon uses rules that are made in XML formatting to be triggered. For example, in the XML snippet below, we are telling Sysmon to monitor for the event of the PowerShell exe process starting. So here is a Sysmon configuration file for monitoring the PowerShell process. To instruct Sysmon what to do, we need to execute the Sysmon application and provide the aforementioned configuration file like so. sysmon64.exe accept EULA I detect PowerShell XML. We can verify that Sysmon has started our configuration file by navigating to the event viewer and searching for the Sysmon module like so. Let's launch a PowerShell prompt on the Windows server and return to our event viewer. We can now see a record of this PowerShell prompt being opened, kept within the event viewer. Now we will need to configure the Wazuh agent on this Windows server to instruct it to send these events to the Wazuh management server. To do so, we need to open the Wazuh agent file located at C program files x86 ossec agent ossec conf. And here we would include the following snippet, looking like so. Now we will need to restart the Wazuh agent. In this instance, I am restarting the operating system just to be sure that these changes have taken place. Once this is done, we need to tell the Wazuh management server to add Sysmon as a rule to visualize these events. This can be done by adding an XML file to the local rules located in var ossec etc rules local rules XML. And this is a snippet for configuring the Wazuh server to ingress Sysmon events. We will need to restart the Wazuh management server for this to apply. Once done, we can refer back to our Wazuh management server and notice that data has been retrieved from an agent. So questions for this task are: what is the name of the tool that we can use to monitor system events? And what standard application on Windows do these system events get recorded to? So answers we can find in the instruction above, and let's proceed to task 8, collecting Linux logs with Wazuh. Capturing logs from a Linux agent is a simple process similar to capturing events from a Windows agent. We'll be using Wazuh's log collector service to create an entry on the agent to instruct what logs should be sent to the Wazuh management server. For example, in this task, we will be monitoring the logs of an Apache 2 web server. To begin, let's configure the log collector service on a Linux server running the Wazuh agent. Wazuh comes with many rules that enable Wazuh to analyze log files and can be found in var OSSec ruleset rules. Some common applications include Docker, FTP, WordPress, SQL Server, MongoDB, FirewallD, and many more, approximately 900. However, you can always make your own rules. In this task, Wazuh will digest Apache 2 logs using the 0250 Apache Rules XML ruleset. This ruleset can analyze Apache 2 logs for warnings and error messages like so. We will need to insert this into the Wazuh's agent that is sending logs to the Wazuh management server's configuration file located in var OSSec etc OSSec-conf. This snippet is relevant for Apache 2 log analysis. And after that, we will need to restart the Linux agent running the Apache 2 service. And one question for this task is, what is the full file path to the rules located on a Wazuh management server? And there is an answer in the instruction. So let's now proceed to do this task hands-on. So first we will verify if there is already a Wazuh agent installed on our Ubuntu instance. And let's go back to procedure for installing agents. So in Agents tab, deploy new agent. And for Debian Ubuntu, let's check out details of our operating system. Get etc OS. Okay. Wazuh server address is the one we see above. And we want to install this agent just now, but only let's copy paste this command and customize it. So we won't start immediately Wazuh agent, just to check status. Let's adjust. Instead of start, let's check its status. Okay, there is no Wazuh agent already installed. So let's proceed to install agent. And then when it reports back to management server, we will customize this part related to Apache on our agent instance, meaning our Ubuntu attack machine. So we prepared the command for Wazuh agent installation. Let's copy paste it. Let's make directory relevant for this room. just for convenience. So we started the room with 2 disconnected agents listed in Wazuh management server. And with that we should get the 3rd one reporting back, the only one connected. And let's start the agent. And let's verify its status now. Okay, it's active, great. Let's see if the management server already picked it up. Great, there it is. We see our IP address, that's a match. And let's click on it to see some details. Let's see inventory data for our instance, for our agent instance. Across processes, packages, network settings, network ports, and add network interface. Let's check out stats. And we see here Apache 2 is already reporting to Wazuh management server. So these are locations here that are already reporting to Wazuh management server from our Ubuntu attack box. And the configuration detail. And let's proceed to verify the content of this var ossec etc ossec-conf file, because we already saw Apache reporting back to Wazuh management server. So let's see if we have this rule set listed in our Wazuh management server. So for rules, we'll go to Management, Administration Rules, and let's search for this one. Let's see if it will be shown in the file column. Okay, it's already there. You see it listed. Let's check out its content. Okay, and let's verify from our terminal. So we saw already from user interface our agent stats. Apache is already reporting. And let's verify. So Apache 2 for warnings and error messages. So that would be sufficient for this room. Let's verify the content of this OSEC.conf file. Let's verify if the Apache is running. It is, okay. And let's switch to warlog Apache 2 directory to see if we have anything else listed over there. Okay, this is what we have available in this directory, and let's check the content of our OSEC.conf. There it is, for example, location varlog auth log with log format syslog, related to one of my previously made walkthroughs on Splunk. You can check that out. And we see here Apache. So let's leave it like so at the moment. No changes necessary at the moment. And let's proceed to task 9, auditing commands on Linux with Wazuh. Wazuh utilizes the Audit-D package that can be installed on Wazuh Agents running on Debian Ubuntu and CentOS operating systems. In this task, we will be using Audit-D on a Ubuntu system. Audit-D monitors the system for certain actions and events and will write this to a log file. We can then use the log collector module on a Wazuh agent to read this log file and send it to the Wazuh management server for processing. First, we will need to install the Audit-D package and an Audit-D plugin. This may already be installed on your system, however, let's install it to make sure. Let's run the command install Audit-D and enable this service to run currently, as well as on boot, enable Audit-D and start Audit-D. We will need to configure Audit-D to create a rule for the commands and events that we wish for it to monitor. In this task, we will be telling Audit-D to monitor for any commands executed as root. You can extend this to monitor commands such as tcpdump, netcat, or catting files such as etc password, which are all hallmarks of a breach. Audit-D rules are located in the following directory: etc audit rules d audit rules. We'll be adding our rules manually. For this task, we will need to open this audit rules file and append our rule ourselves. First, let's edit the file using sudo nano etc audit rules d audit rules and appending this line. So to monitor for any commands executed as root. And this is the snippet related to monitoring commands executed as root. UID equals 0. We will now need to inform audits of this new rule. So let's run this command sudo audit ctl -r etc audit rules d audit rules to now read the new audit rules file that we appended to in the previous task. Now let's configure the system that is running a Wazuh agent that we wish to monitor these events on. We'll be monitoring a Linux host in this case, so like in our previous tasks, we'll need to configure the Wazuh agent to detect this new log file that is generated by audit like so. Sudo nano var osec etc osec conf and add the audit log like so. This is the snippet relevant for configuring the Wazuh agent to add the audit d log as a log file to send to the Wazuh management server. So this log format audit and location var log audit log. And with that, in events list, we should be able to filter for data audit EUID 0. And questions for this task are: first, what application do we use on Linux to monitor events such as command execution? And what is the full path and file name for where the aforementioned application stores rules? So we saw answers to these questions in the instruction above, and let's proceed to do this task hands-on. So first let's check is the audit D service on our Ubuntu tech box already up and running. Looks like not. Let's proceed to install audit D, enable and start service. And now we have audit D up and running. Let's add this line to our audit rules. And let's add this snippet to var ossec etc ossec conf file. So let's verify if audit log is already there or not. So we saw we have Apache 2 mentioned, also as shown in the UI. We don't have audit mentioned. So let's add this snippet now. Let's verify it's saved. Okay, it is. And let's restart Wazuh agent for the management server stats page to pick it up here. If you refresh management stat page right now, audit log is still not listed. So let's restart Wazuh agent with systemctl restart Wazuh agent. Let's confirm it's active now. It is, and let's refresh the stats page in the UI. And we see it now listed. Let's see if there's already something on events page. So not yet here as shown in the instruction screenshot. So let's give it some time. Let's proceed to task 10 for the moment. Wazuh API using our own client. The Wazuh Management Server features a rich and extensive API to allow the Wazuh Management Server to be interacted with using the command line. Because the Wazuh Management Server requires authentication, we must first authenticate our client. In this task, we will be using a Linux machine with the curl tool installed to interact with the Wazuh Management Server API. First, we will need to authenticate ourselves by providing a valid set of credentials to the authentication endpoint. Once we are authenticated, the Wazuh Management Server will give us a token, similar to a session, that we will need to provide for any further interaction. We can store this token as an environment variable on our Linux machine, like the snippet below. replacing Wazuh Management Server IP with the IP address of the Wazuh Management Server. So we'll run this command to get the token. And then confirm we have authenticated OK and have been given a token by the Wazuh Management Server using this command. And by running this, we expect to see something similar to this Wazuh API verify authentication snippet. We can use the standard HTTP request methods such as get, post, put, and delete by providing the relevant option after a -x, i.e. -x get. So we'll run this command. For API endpoint manager status pretty equals true. For example, let's use the Wazuh API to list some statistics and important information about the Wazuh Management Server, including what services are being monitored and some general settings about the Wazuh Management Server. So we'll query endpoints manager configuration pretty equals true and ion equals global. And here is a sample output snippet for getting information about the Wazuh manager. Or perhaps we can use the Wazuh Management Server's API to interact with an agent and query agent's endpoint. And here is the sample snippet using the Wazuh Management Server's API to interact with an agent. Then we can use Wazuh's API console. Wazuh has a powerful integrated API console within the Wazuh website to query management servers and agents. Whilst it is not as extensive as using our own environment, where you can create and run scripts using Python, for example, it is convenient. To find this API console, we need to open the Tools category within the Wazuh heading at the top. So we'll go from Wazuh to Tools to API console. You'll be greeted with a few sample queries that you can run. Simply select the line and press the green run arrow to run the query as demonstrated below. Reminder, the syntax for running queries uses the same web methods, i.e. get, put, posts, and endpoints, i.e. manager info, as you would use with curl. You can view some more options about API endpoints by following Wazuh's detailed API documentation here. And questions for this task are: first, what is the name of the standard Linux tool that we can use to make requests to the Wazuh Management Server? We saw that above. What HTTP method we could use to retrieve information for a Wazuh Management Server API? What HTTP method would we use to perform an action on a Wazuh Management Server API? We will then navigate to Wazuh API console hands-on, and hands-on action for this task is to use the API console to find the Wazuh server's version. Note, you will need to add the V prefix to the number for this answer, for example v1.2.3. So let's proceed to our text box to check this. We can find manager's version from this endpoint, and let's scroll to manager. You see here manager, and it's a version. So that's the answer to that question. Also, manager's version is available from management status tab. Great. Let's proceed to task 11, generating reports with Wazuh. Wazuh features a reporting module that allows you to view a summarized breakdown of events that have occurred on an agent. First, we will need to select a view to generate reports from. In this example, I want to generate a report of the security events in the last 24 hours. To do so, I will need to open the view. First modules, then security events. Now, if there have been alerts within the last 24 hours, I can generate a report like so. Note, if this button is grayed out, there is no report data, so you will either need to change your query or extend the date range. The report may take between a couple of seconds to a few minutes to generate, depending on the amount of data needed to be processed. After allowing some time, we will navigate to the report overview dashboard within Wazuh. First, press on the Wazuh heading at the top of the screen and select Management, and then click on the Reporting text located under the Status and Reports subheading. The report overview dashboard lists all generated reports. To download a report, press the Save icon on the right of the report located under the Actions heading, which will download the report as a PDF to your machine. A generated security events report looks like so. And questions for this task are: first, use Wazuh's report feature to generate a report of an agent. Then navigate to the Wazuh report dashboard and analyze the report. What is the name of the agent that has generated the most alerts? Let's proceed to our attack box Wazuh agent to do this. We created the report for first agent. Let's proceed to do that for the rest of agents, and let's compare reports. This one needs more time to report back, so we'll proceed with reports from our two disconnected agents. And let's proceed to task 12, last one for today, loading sample data. The Wazuh management server comes with sample data bundled with the installation that can be loaded at your convenience. I have not enabled this by default to improve the performance of the server. However, if you wish to import much more data to showcase the extensibility of Wazuh further, follow the steps below. Navigate to the module to load the sample data. Open the Wazuh tab in the heading, highlight Over Settings, select the sample data heading, press the Add Data button on the respective 3 cards to import the data. Note that this may take up to a minute for each. Refer to this animated picture below for example. This data will have successfully imported when the button on the card says Remove Data. Return to the Wazuh dashboard to see the newly imported data. For example, we can now see that the Security Events module has a ton more data for us to explore. Please note that you will need to play with the date range. The absolute minimum required to show the sample data will need to be at least 7 days plus, and refresh the dashboard for this to apply. There are no explicit questions for this task. Let's proceed to import the sample data and play around with the sample data. Let's add sample data for sample security information, also sample auditing and policy monitoring, and sample threat detection and response. Let's refresh the page and try again. We have an error trying to load sample data. Failed request with status 404. So with that, we'll wrap up with this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one. Until next video, bye for now.